Okay, so I wanted to do a full video for this book because I finished reading it. I'm Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter, and I'm going to include it in my November reads. I just wanted to talk about it. It was such a beautiful book, you guys. I really needed this book when I was like 12. It brought up a lot of feelings, but it was a lot of reflection. There's good and bad memories or whatever, but I don't feel nothing towards that. I saw a lot of my growth. If I were to have read this before when I was like 15, I would have been crying the whole time, but it would have helped me a lot. I totally recommend this to any Mexican daughter out there. A lot of us heal, a lot of us don't. I healed myself. I healed by myself. I really had to do my own research. I had to go through stuff. I mean, we all go through stuff, but I started loving myself. You know, I started working towards healing myself. I wanted to do better, so I decided to learn and I decided to become better. I related to it so much. I feel like because a lot of us Mexican daughters go through the same stuff. We take things differently, we react differently to some of the situations, but it's crazy how we go through a lot of the same stuff. I had old school so-called parents, old school Mexican parents, and you know, it was very different back then. A lot of the parents do adapt to these new ways. A lot of them really don't want to adapt. They don't like to change. They don't want to change. They want to stick to the old school stuff. I was raised with one parent, so it was very tough, and I'm the oldest, you guys. Shout out to all of my oldest Mexican daughters out there, to all of the oldest Mexican siblings. It's tough, honestly, especially for a girl, because I know in the Mexican household you're kind of put automatically as being a second parent, and especially if it's just one single parent, you're seen as a second mom. There's so much responsibility put onto you with being an older sibling and trying to be like a second mom, and you know, they tell you to be the best role model, to be the best oldest sister, and you always have to look out for them. But then it's like, okay, well, who's looking out for me? You know, nobody's there looking out for us. And the so-called parents weren't there for me. Nobody was taking care of me. Nobody was telling me right from wrong. Nobody was taking care of me, and I wasn't even taking care of myself. I had to put them first. You're seen as a second mom because they go to you. You're always there with them. You kind of put it in your mind too, and I know this is what fucked me up for a lot of years, because in my mind I was like, okay, well, I'm like their second mom. I just put it in my head like these aren't my siblings, these are like my kids, you know. And it was for so many years, and that really fucked me up. I know they're your younger siblings and you love them, but they're not your kids. They're not your kids, and it's really not your responsibility to raise them. I felt so bad for the so-called parent and like for them, but it was like, okay, well, who was feeling bad for me? Like, nobody's taking care of you. Nobody tells you about self-love. They're telling you to love your siblings and you have to be there for the parent because they're single and nobody's there to help them. I'm just a child. Like, I'm 10, 11 years old. Nobody's taking care of me, and I had to take care of them and take care of her. Like, it was just very tough growing up. Dude, shout out to all of the oldest sisters out there that went through the similar thing, especially with a single parent. And if you did, like, let me know your story. Comment down below, how was it for you? It's not healthy to grow up thinking you're their second mom. It really fucks you up mentally, and it might make you build anger and resentment. I know that happened to me, because after I was just so mad because nobody was there for me. Nobody was there for me. Nobody thanked me. Nobody acknowledged my work. I was over here, not even a teenager, having so much responsibility. I was so full of hate and anger, and that's why I went to drinking alcohol. I was literally so depressed. You know, she was so depressed and she was full of anxiety at a really young age, you guys. When I reflect, I'm like, I was really fucking depressed. I didn't know how to deal with that. In Mexican household, we don't talk about mental health. We don't communicate at all. There's no fucking communication. I didn't know how I felt. I was just full of all of this, and I didn't know how to deal with my emotions. What did I do? I went to alcohol. It was just a lot, you know. And with the book, like, I just related to her so much. The weird ass tios, you guys, there is weird ass tios out there. It can be tios, tias. There are some tios I feel so uncomfortable with. If you do too, like, you guys distance yourself from family. In Mexican households, we hear, oh, family is everything, family is first, this and that. You have to respect your elders, you have to respect your tios, your tias. And that's why when they do something and you feel uncomfortable, you're still there because you have to be a good girl. You have to respect your elders. You can't say no to them. Like, no, say no. If you feel uncomfortable any type of way they do something to you, say something. That's why I distance myself from family. I'm like, honestly, like, I just can't do it. I feel uncomfortable and I just don't like the vibes, you guys. And that was one thing where I felt so different growing up. Like, I just felt different from my family. I really never felt like I belonged. I didn't. Like, I'm still different. I acknowledge that. I tried to fit in. I tried to please them, to do things to make them happy and to love me, and that hurt me. You want them to be proud of you. You gotta make yourself happy. You can't be making them happy, you know. And these are all things we don't learn about. Like, family is always criticizing, they're always asking questions, especially in Mexican households where it's crazy how they don't want you to date young, but yet when you are like 18, they're asking you about a boyfriend. When you're like 20, 21, do you have a boyfriend? When are you gonna get married? When are you gonna have kids? Like, you guys didn't want me to date. You say not to date when I'm young. Yeah, when I'm like graduating high school, you want me to be like damn near married. Where am I supposed to find the dude? Like, the first one that comes up, I'm supposed to marry him? Like, no, it ain't like the old days. You know what I'm saying? And then just stick with them miserable. No. Career too, like, are you gonna go to college, or what are you doing with your degree? That was one thing that was so annoying to me. Yes, I went to college. I'm not working for a company how I wanted to before. It's like they think you go to college and your life is set. Like, it doesn't work that way. When you get out of college, it's tough to find a job. They want experienced people, and I was just done. I was done with everything, dude. I just got so annoyed, and I was like, fuck everybody. I'm distancing myself. Like, I really do not hang out with family, and there's no hate, it's all love, but I just don't feel the vibes, you know. And my peace and my happiness comes first before anybody. I'm not saying I was the best oldest sister. I wasn't. I didn't really show love. I showed the type of love that I grew up seeing, and honestly, it wasn't much love shown. They just think love is having a roof over your head, putting food on the table, having a bed, clothes, shoes. Like, I appreciate it, yes, but that's not showing love. You never hear an I love you, honestly, in a Mexican household. You really don't. I know I can't remember a time when I was told that I was loved. I was not shown that I was loved. They were there, yes. I had both so-called parents up to like 10 years old, and then it was just one. I was never shown love. They might have been there, but they weren't emotionally there. They were physically there, but not emotionally there. Like, not mentally there. I was like 10, 11, you know, with already so much responsibility. Like, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to handle all that, but I wanted the best for them, you know. I wanted to do what I could with what I knew. We weren't really financially stable. In middle school, I started selling candy just to have something, you know, at the end of the week. Take them to the mall, buy them some food, buy them a little something. I know I wasn't really emotionally there either. We don't learn about these things, like mental health, self-love, because you think love is coming from another person, love from your parents, from your siblings, from other people. And it's crazy because I just always felt so lonely. I always felt so alone because I didn't love myself. So of course I just felt so empty. And I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not blaming them. I don't blame anybody. But this is why I talk about self-love, spreading awareness of self-love, because self-love is true love. That's why a lot of people feel so alone, because they depend on other people's love. They're out here people pleasing. They just feel so empty, and they're just not their authentic selves because they don't love them. They don't appreciate them. You have to be authentically you and accept who you are. And dude, you guys, the key thing that I took from this book and that I just related to was no communication. There wasn't communication. They always say, you'll understand one day, you'll understand one day. Like, just tell me. They think we're kids and we don't understand, which we might not understand, but at least we know. We think about it and it's in our head. Like, how do you expect me to understand something when you don't tell me? And that was my thing. Like, I feel I grew up really fast and I would just always ask, like, what's going on, what's going on? Something happened, I'd be like, why are you doing this or this and that? And they'd be like, you'll understand one day, you'll understand one day. Like, I probably fucking won't. We always react differently to similar things, so I will probably never understand you. You'll understand when you become a parent. Like, what if I don't become a parent one day? Like, you'll understand when you have kids one day. What if people don't have the kids? How are they supposed to understand? Like, communication is key, and communication is key to understanding. Like, if you feel one type of way, explain it. Like, just talk the truth. Don't sugarcoat it or anything. Like, be straight up. I would have loved that, to always be told the truth, what's going on. I'm pretty sure I would have understood. Just simply have known, because I disliked that I just didn't know what was going on, that I just didn't know, that I was just kept like in the shadows, but yet I was expected to do this and that and understand. Like, just doesn't make sense. Like, no communication about anything, you guys. No communication about having your period. I did not have the sex talk at all. I learned about sex in school. With sex, it's more than just the physical. Like, it's an energy exchange, and they don't even teach you that in school. Once I just started healing and just seeing everything as energy, and I did also do my research, and you know, there's it talks about that, about sex. It's a sacred energy exchange. And with having my period, you guys, I also learned about the menstrual cycle in school. And when I first got my period, I told her, and it was just like, oh, put a pad on. But I still had so many questions. What type of pad? And they just think, oh, when you get your period, you turn into a woman. Oh, like what? Like, no, you know, you don't turn into a woman. And especially nowadays with girls having it at like 9-10 years old. I had it at like 14, and I was still clueless at that age. And with the whole quince thing too, dude, of turning into a woman, she did not want a quince. And let me tell you that I did not want a quince either. I felt pressured. Just the shit they tell you, like, oh, I didn't have one and it'd be beautiful if you could have one. I've always thought about parties like a waste of money, a waste of time. You're throwing a party not for you, but for the guests, other people. You don't even enjoy it. You over here worrying about the guests and the baile and this and that. I said fuck it. Yes, at the end of the day. But I said I am getting so drunk that day because I really didn't want it. I just didn't want to deal with it, and I did. I blacked the fuck out, you guys. I don't remember anything about my quince. Nothing. I didn't enjoy it. I don't remember anything. Nothing, dude. And that's kind of sad. I started drinking at a really young age, and that wasn't my first time getting drunk. My first time getting drunk was like 11 years old. I was just escaping the so-called father. I returned to my life a couple months before that, after like 3-4 years. I don't know you. It's like a complete stranger. That bond isn't there. It's beautiful, yes, sometimes when other people dance with their parents, their fathers, when they have a genuine loving relationship, like a father-daughter relationship. But I didn't, you know, and I didn't want to deal with it. I didn't want to be present. I didn't want to be mentally, emotionally there. And this is a spoiler alert if you guys haven't noticed. I guess I'm kind of talking about it. So go read the book first and then come look at the video. The part that got to me was when she hurt herself because she was so depressed and she was dealing with anxiety and she didn't know what she was going through. And how could her parents know too? They call you malcriada, like they call you all these things. They think you're just being a bad child. They don't see probably something's wrong with you, like mentally, like emotionally. Her parents were just calling her so many things, seeing her as a bad child. And when she hurt herself, dude, like it just hit me. It's gonna hit me again. Every single year my birthday, I was just like, dude, like I don't want to be here. Here's another year. When it's like it's another year, I just don't want to be here. And at that point in time, I also didn't know what I was feeling. I just didn't know how to deal with it. You guys, I was like 11, 12, and it's crazy, a child just going through all that and feeling so depressed. It was just so many things. My life had just changed completely, going through so much. It was just so much responsibility. You try to talk to your parents and they just don't understand you. They don't understand because they don't want to hear you. They never want to hear you. I never felt heard. And then after, I'm like, well, what's the point? What's the point of trying to explain something when they're not even listening? She didn't blame her parents, but it's like, okay, look, if the parents were to understand it and listen to her, it would have been a completely different story. And I don't blame my parents. I used to, and just question everything. And why do I have these parents? You know, I forgave them just so I could move on. I like started to understand where they're coming from. They came over here really young. Just imagine like literally what they went through to come over here, leaving their parents at a really young age. So they didn't grow up with parents, and they probably weren't shown love either. So they did what they knew. But that's still not a fucking excuse, you guys, okay? That is not an excuse for them not being a parent, for not being there, for not loving you, because they were those type of parents to me too. I wasn't shown love. I wasn't taken care of. They weren't emotionally there for me. I'm breaking that cycle. I want to do better. I want to become better. And I got out of there. I went to healing. And it's like I'm going up and they're just going down. I'm not nobody's fucking parent. If anything, I'm my own parent. I am my own mother. I am my own father. I am my own sister. I am my own brother. I am everything to me, okay? I don't blame them. I stopped with the excuses too, because that's not healthy and that's not good. If they never want to learn, that's on them. But I'm going to learn and I'm going to do better. Honestly, a lot of parents are not meant to be parents. They're just not, and they never learn. I just accepted that I didn't have the parents that I wanted. I will never have the parents that I want. I had the parents that I needed. Not having love and just going through everything that I went through, it just all led me to here, to heal, to love myself, to learn that self-love is true. Love to stop depending on others, stop trying to prove anything to others, stop looking for acceptance, for validation, stop pleasing others, you know, working for their love. Like love comes naturally. Love, yeah, it comes from other people, but love is within me. Like if they really wanted to be parents, they would have been great parents. The so-called father was was an alcoholic. I did the same, but I healed it. I got out of there. You can improve your life. They just choose not to. And I'm not here to look after them. A lot of people say I do it for my parents. They went through so much, this and that. Like, yes, they did, but I'm not here to take care of them. I'm not here to do it for them. I'm here to do it for me. Who else is doing it for me? Nobody. They gotta do it for themselves. And here's the thing where I used to say, I never asked you to have me. I didn't ask you to be my parent. I didn't ask to be your child. And that's a very negative, unhealthy mindset to have, because they take out things on you, dude. Like, oh, but I did this and then it's like, okay, well, I didn't ask you to have me. And I don't see it in a negative way now, you know, like, but it's true. Like, they still say shit, dude. You are not meant to take care of your parents. I'm trying to do it for me. I'm gonna do it for me. I'm working hard for me. I'm building a life for me. You know, since a couple years ago, I just literally let go of it all. Like, I'm focused on me, and that's not being selfish. Honestly, letting go of your parents, sometimes that's the healthiest thing to do, to just cut ties. And it's not because you hate them. You can love your parents, but not love them as parents. I've cut off people. I've cut off family, because that's what's best for me. My peace and happiness comes before anything. I come before anything. You need to start healing. You know, there's just so much trauma, and I'm not saying I'm healed. I'm still working on myself. I'm still healing trauma. I'm still trying to fix things, you know, doing the work, doing shadow work, going in deep, trying to become the best version of myself. Healing is a process. It's a journey. It's not a destination. I know times have changed, and Mexican daughters are probably, hopefully, growing up very differently in a healthier home, having their parents there emotionally. But I know with the old school parents, it was tough. You want to be that perfect daughter. You want to be that perfect Mexican daughter, but you can't. Nobody's perfect. And there's another thing that's just sometimes gets annoying, when the parents compare children. Like, you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be like, oh, but this child does this does that. Why can't you be more like this? Why can't you be more like that? You know, and sometimes you just feel like you don't belong. And I felt like that all the time. And I would question myself, like, what's wrong with me? You know? Like, why don't they love me? What did I do? But there's nothing wrong with you. And you don't have to be like them. You don't have to agree with them. It's not that they're right, they're wrong, you're right, you're wrong. You can be different. You don't have to follow their footsteps. And I talk about self-love and all these things because I wish there was somebody telling me those things when I was younger. Give yourself a hug right now. Give yourself a pat in the back. You don't need a hug from nobody else. You don't need somebody else telling you that they love you. You need to tell yourself that you love yourself. You need to show yourself love. Like, this just brought up my inner child, and I just like gave myself a hug. I gave myself a hug. I reflected, and I just told myself how much I love myself and how proud I am of myself for coming a long way. I just never thought I was going to be happy, you know, and be at peace. I was looking for things outside when I just had to go in. Like, I do it for my inner child. I'm constantly talking to her, giving her a hug. I wanted to talk about these things because I know there's probably other Mexican daughters out there maybe going through the same thing, went through the same thing, and it's like, you're not alone. Accept yourself for who you are. You are beautiful, you are strong, you are smart, and I love you. Tell yourself that you love yourself. Give yourself a hug. I really appreciate you guys watching. Let me know if you guys read this book. Let's talk about it. How did it make you feel? Talk to me about your childhood if you want to. Comment down below in the description box. What parts of the book did you relate to the most? What did you love about the book? Did old feelings come up? Were they negative feelings, positive feelings? Was it just more of a reflection? Because I know for me it was more of a reflection. It made me happy. It's just very hopeful, you know, and I want you to know, like, things get better. It's okay to prioritize yourself. Make yourself happy. Protect your peace. And you can say no. And I know it's weird at first saying no, especially to your parents, because you shouldn't say no to your parents. You should listen to them. But no, you're going to make it through. I love you guys. I will talk to you guys in the next video. Follow me on all social medias. I leave all the links down in the description box because there's just a ton. Let me know what other books like this I should read. What do you guys recommend?